part?
Yeah.
Okay, good morning, and today we are, welcome to the wonderful world of open houses. And we're going to talk about reasons to do an open house, what to do at before the open house, what to do at the open house, and what your follow-up should be with open house. So in the middle of this, if you guys have any questions, type it in or yell it out, and I'll try and address it, but that's kind of how the flow of it is going to go. So reasons for doing an open house. Number one, we do it for making our sellers happy, right? So a lot of sellers want an open house. Some sellers do not want an open house, but a lot of them feel like that's a good thing. And it is a service that we offer. We don't tell the sellers that we want to do open houses. Probably we try and sell the house, but really the main purpose of the open house for agents is to gain new clients, both buyers and sellers. That should be your mindset, right? That you're going to try and get new clients. If you can sell that house from the open house, that's a bonus. I think I've done it once, maybe once.
I've done it once.
In 20, and so yeah, you're better than me. Mine was 23 years. Yours is how many, Matt? 1 year. 1 year. What? So maybe twice I've done it, but not very often. So again, you want to try and make the sellers happy if that's what they want. Additional exposure for the house, right? Because we get more graphic, more flyers, more social media. But the main purpose is to meet buyers and sellers. So when you're meeting these buyers and sellers, it's for the purpose of gaining them as clients, to expand your sphere of influence. Also, you want to show potential sellers how hard you work, right? If you do an open house properly, and you got to be strategic with an open house. If you're just running out there, slapping out a couple of signs, you are missing an opportunity to really connect with some people and gain. I think open houses are the #1 way to get clients. I think that is one of the easiest and most effective ways and use of our time to gather clients and to meet new clients. So if you're trying to, and if we can get a listing out of it, well, that's amazing. I mean, buyers are great, but if you can get a listing, that's gold. So you want to show those sellers how hard you work, right? We want to make sure that we're putting the effort into it, that we're strategic with it, that we're planned with it, so they can see this is an agent I want to use. If I'm going to sell my house, this is an agent I want to use. So before the open house, you might want to door knock to the neighborhood. You can do it the day of, you can do a week before. I mean, but knock on doors, and the script can be something as simple as, hey, you see a lot of cars in the neighborhood, just want to let you know your neighbor at blah, 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 blah is going to be having an open house this Saturday from 11 to 1. It's an opportunity. You can take a flyer, give it to them, give them your business card. Those are all things you can do, but I would definitely circle the neighborhood. However much time you want to put into it, the more doors you knock, the better. And that's an easy conversation with people. You're not asking them to do anything. You're just giving them that, hey, listen, we're going to have an open house. Just want to make you aware. They feel special. They feel like you took the time to do it. And that's a great way. And invite them to the open house. In fact, you can do a special time for neighbors. If you are going to do 11 to 1, invite neighbors, Matt, and invite neighbors from 10 to 11. Go 10 to 11, invite neighbors to come for the open house. And then you know their neighbors, right? You're aware already they're neighbors. And it just depends how long you like to do the open house. I cannot sit for more than 2 hours. 11 to 1 or 2 hours is about my limit. I start losing my mind after that. 3 hours, that's really iffy. 4, it's out of the question for me. I can't sit in one spot for 4 hours. So, just keep that in mind and make sure that if you want to do a special neighbor time, I would do a 2-hour open house and a 1 hour for neighbors. Okay. Make sure you're posting it on social media, doing your graphics, letting the girls know so that you're doing you have your graphics done and you're posting that all over on social media. And if you have buyers looking, you can send that graphic specifically to them. You can text it to them, you can email it to them. How about calling some buyers that you have and inviting them personally to the open house? There's a touch, right, to your sphere of influence. So that is something you can do. You want to make sure it's added to the MLS. You're going to add it to, you go on to the MLS. There's a way you can put, if you are not the listing agent, reach out to the listing agent and remind them to add it to the MLS, because you cannot do it unless it's your listing on the MLS. And then Zillow, you can add it to Zillow as well. Does it have to be the owner of the listing, Jackie, that adds it to Zillow?
It'll auto-populate. If you have it on the MLS, it'll auto-populate onto the other one.
Oh, okay. Okay.
From our MLS.
From-
So King's MLS doesn't auto get to Zillow, but at least for sure, TC MLS does.
Okay, you can do circle prospecting, right? Where you can call, you can get numbers, you can call people around a listing and let them know you're having an open house. So those are all things you could do. Backtracking a little bit, when you're going to do an open house, be strategic about where you are doing an open house. I don't want to do it way out in the country somewhere. You might, as long as you're putting it on social media and it's on the MLS, you might get some, but if you're relying on just signs, it's not going to work because nobody's going to see your signs. And we want you to be safe, you know, way out. That I would think twice about that. I also would think, how long has the house been listed? Because the longer it's been listed, people have already been through. If there's already been open houses on it, you may not get a good turnout on that. Think about the weekends, think about the day, think about the time, think about the weather, think about holidays, think about what football games are going on, because that has so stopped us on open houses. And try to do your best to be strategic with it. Sometimes we do our best and we still get nobody. But don't be negative because because you posted it on social media. You look active. Make sure you take an opportunity, take some videos, take some pictures, use it for later. Make use of your time at the open houses. And it's a numbers game. And you only need one, right? I mean, just hope for one lead out of it. And if you get one person and it turns into a lead, what's wrong with that? There's nothing wrong with that. If you want to take snacks and food, I mean, I'm lazy about it. I'll take a little something in the summer. I take bottled water. I think that's a nice thing to take. I'll take cookies. I don't take anything too messy. Make sure your sellers are okay with food in their house. Where you position yourself at the open house. Like I position myself by the front door. I want to make sure by the front door where people are coming and going. You don't want to be in the backyard. You don't want to be where they can't, you know, try and be where you can see people coming in and out. When they come in, greet them, have a sign-in sheet, ask them to, I always shake their hand. Hi, I'm Sarah. Get their name, get them to talk to you. Get them to sign in. Sometimes they will give you real info. Sometimes they will not, right? I mean, sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. You just don't know. But what you want to make sure is that you are not hounding them. Like, because people are funny when they come to open houses. They feel like they're going to ram this house down my throat. You want to make sure that they realize you're not going to ram this house down their throat. You know, I throw them off. If they're, I will, when they come in, I greet them. I'm Sarah. Great. Take a look around. Here's the info. If you don't want to take info sheets, don't give them the specs. Tell them, you know, this one's listed for this price. It's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,500 square feet, built in whatever. You don't have to have a sheet. You can, it's a reason to talk to them. You can if you want to, but if you run out, oh well, you have a great open house, just talk to them. And then I'll just tell them, take a look around and just let me know what you think. I'm not going to follow you around. I'm not going room to room for you. Let me know if you have any questions. When they come back out, I'll ask them, what did you think? It's pretty simple. And sometimes they'll be like, yeah, it's good or whatever. Blah, blah, blah. And then if I can get them engaged, I'll say something like, oh, how long have you guys been looking? Or don't you love this area? And then you can usually tell if they're a buyer or a seller, because if they're a seller, they're gonna say, oh, yeah, we live here, we love this neighborhood. Oh, really? Where do you guys live? And try and get an idea of where they live. Sometimes they'll give you their address. And then I'll say something like, oh, how long have you guys lived here? Oh, we've lived here for 15 years. Ooh, I bet you guys have some equity in your house, right? Just kind of drop that little bomb. And see if you like, oh, yeah, well, we don't know. And then you can always throw it in there, you know, if you ever want to know the value of your home, I'd be happy to help you. Once they leave, I mean, if they sign in with their address, if they'll give you their name, you know they live in that area, you can go on the county records, you'll find their address, right? You're gonna find it. If they don't give me info, I'll look and see what kind of a car they're driving and then see what direction they drive off. They're usually going to park in front of their house. You might be able to find it that way. If they are a buyer, right, then they say, oh yeah, we love this area. We've been looking in this area. Oh, know what else is listed in the area right then. So you are knowledgeable. And I will say to them, oh, did you see the one two streets over? That one, blah, 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 listed. The one on Cedar, it's listed for $349. Have you seen that one yet? You're gonna get a good idea. They'll either say, oh yeah, we already saw that one, our agent showed us, or no, we haven't seen that one. Oh, do you have an agent? Okay, and if they say, yeah, oh, who's your agent? You might want to find out who it is. And then if it's, you know, somebody else, not our office, then you might say, oh, I'm surprised they didn't tell you about that one. And then I've had lots of buyers say to me, oh, yeah, I'm so happy with that agent. We have to tell them, we have to, you know, show them everything. They never send us anything. We've always got to do it. And then maybe you get a client out of it, a buyer out of it. But you want to try and determine buyer, seller. And even if they say, we're just looking, we're not interested, there's an interest in real estate. Why else would they be there? I mean, I don't go look at the shoe department at Macy's because I'm not interested, because I hate shoes. There's an interest, right? And if I see the right thing, I'm probably going to buy it. It's the same with houses. They're there because there's an interest. They will tell you they're not, because again, they think you're going to be like forcing them, like really aggressive. Don't be very aggressive. Be helpful. Ask them questions. What can I do to help you? You know, what do you think about this? Get them talking. What do you think about this house? I'll say, what do you think about that backyard? You know, and then they might, it throws them off. You're like, yeah, I don't know, we're a little crazy. What would you do with it? You know, sometimes they get them chatting, get their minds going. And then again, direct them to different ones, because if you know in the inventory, if this house doesn't work for them because the yard isn't big enough. Oh, did you see this one over here? Because the yard is huge on that one.
And if you don't really know, like, that's kind of, it's not even a bonus, we didn't know the area. Well, if you're a real estate professional. Doesn't have to recycle, like, they have people that will go across that are, you know, talk about, if they live in that neighborhood, they're gonna rattle off some houses that are sold in the area. And you look like a year in headlines. It's just not gonna be. So anytime you do an open house, like Sarah said, just do a little bit of homework ahead of time on the houses that are sold recently in the last 6 months. So that way, you can chance when somebody has mentioned other houses that are sold, you're trying to find.
What else do you do, Chris, when they're there? When people come in, what do you do differently than I do?
I usually. I think they love with just ask them like what brought them in and all this kind of. It's kind of nonchalant. You guys just out for, you know, driving around and saw the signs you want to pop in, or do you guys actually looking?
Right, that's another good question. Like, did your signs work, or was it coming off of social media or MLS? Like, what's working for you?
Yeah, and usually whenever I tell them that, oftentimes they'll, because whenever you present it that way, like, you see my sign, you just kind of wanted to pop in. That's when you say that, you're kind of suggesting, are you not really interested in houses? You pop up with the sign. And fairly often, they'll kind of, their reply, if they really are looking, would be something like, yeah, we saw your sign, but we have been looking. You know, or something like that, almost like defend himself, not himself, but like. To let you know that they're gonna look, they let you know, like, no, they are looking, I think. And then that kind of pulls me in, if they say that. I think that's green light. You're talking about. They're like, they say any kind of comment like we've been looking, or this is not, if there's anything insinuating or revealing that they've been looking at any other properties. Or comparing it to other properties, or their home, or anything like that, that's a big one. It doesn't mean attack, but it means, okay. This is, so we need to just have a casual conversation and all has to be coming from contribution. The whole time, you have to be coming from contribution, relax.
Yep.
Just like they're just a person that you're interacting with.
Just there to help them, because once you change and you're going in salesy, they're gonna backtrack, they're gonna backpedal. Because when they're already buyers and you're showing property and if they're a little more salesy, that's a little different. They're already engaged with looking at property. At this point, they're not, and they will take every opportunity they have to back away from you if you get too salesy with them. So I think it's super important.
Another really good thing to say is. And Sarah kind of taught me this very early on, when I was showing houses, but I've applied it a little bit to open houses too. Is if somebody, like, if when you're in there, say something bad about the house. Not
Yeah.
in like a negative way, but like point out like what the feedback's been. Because their response is going to be in response to your feedback from other people on this house. It's going to be very indicative as to where their mind is at with this house. So like if there's somebody that you identified as somebody that has been looking. Then you want to definitely say, yeah, the main feedback on this one's been that backyard's a little tough, or that we're, you know, that busy street that's right there, or like the master's a little, has kind of an odd layout, you know, or it's a little different of a layout. If you say that, they're going to respond to you with their likes and dislikes just by default. You didn't even ask them. You didn't even ask them what you like about it. What you,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, you can. But when you make that comment, it invites them to give their feedback.
And it builds trust.
Yeah.
Because when I'm showing property, if I see something negative, I'll be like, did you see that? Did you see that bathroom?
Yeah.
You know, like, oh, you know, and say something funny. And then, because if you try and just wash over it, I mean, it's obvious. Now you gotta be careful, because some things are just taste. It's my taste, it's not their taste, or something. I mean, I've done it. I've stuck my foot in my mouth before, saying something like, oh my God, the color of this house is just, we love it. And they're like, we love it. And then you go, yeah, backpedal, right? You know, because you said too much. But if it's things more like, I'll say something like, did you notice that toilet was leaking? Or, you know, there's a really big crack in the tile. Did you notice that? That way they know you're not just pointing out the good things to be salesy.
Yeah.
You care about them, and you are pointing out the negatives as well as the positives, right? Obviously, you don't want to stop them before they get started, but it's okay, because the name of the game here is trust. It's what we're doing. We're not selling, we're building relationships. That's how you become successful. And it applies to every single facet of this industry. When you're showing property, when you're listing property, when you're doing open houses, it's all about trust and building the relationship. So that's what the open house is for. It's just another opportunity to build a relationship with somebody that you do not know. Okay.
And this is a way to identify if somebody's interested in the house. If you're at an open house and somebody comes through and they're a qualified buyer that is actually interested in this house. You want to be able to identify them, because they could be writing an offer on this. Not that it happens like super often, but in that scenario, if you have a qualified buyer who's on the market looking, and you tell them the main feedback's been this. If there's only two scenarios that they're gonna respond with. If they like it and they're like considering writing an offer on it, their feedback is gonna be washing over the negative that you just gave them. It's gonna completely negate the negative that you just gave. So for example, if it's a busy street, they're gonna say, yeah, we mind the busy street, actually. And this is, and then they're gonna go into the reasons why they really like the house. If they do that, this is somebody that you need to follow up with, because this person has some genuine interest on this house, that you could potentially be writing an offer on this house. If they watch over the negative that you gave and start telling you reasons why they like it, that's something that you need to be aware of. Look for those keys. The other, if they're unqualified buyers on the market looking, and this isn't something that they're interested in, they're just gonna go with the casual flow in the conversation, like, yeah, we noticed that too. Yeah, and it's also got this, and it's also got that. We're looking more for, you know, a little bit out further, or something a little bit bigger, or we're really, it's really important to us that we have a big backyard. Or, you know, they're gonna give you something on the negative side. So those are the, in that moment, those are the two kind of ways that I've seen those go, is usually one of those.
Yeah, and then you can take a lender to an open house if you want to. I don't know, I mean. I don't know, you know, you can do that if you want to. I don't know if a lot of people are gonna sit and qualify, but at least maybe they could start the process. They can meet the lender, maybe they make some more comfy with the lender. You know, maybe they're more apt once they've seen this person to then go follow through with getting pre-qualified. That is something you can do. You know, like I said, you can do as much or as little as you want. I mean, I've seen open houses where they do a ton of, you know, all kinds of stuff. Are you gonna get more people through? Maybe more people that are hungry. I don't know that they're necessarily going to be your buyers, but again, an open house, we don't know who our buyers are, right? We don't know. That is the problem with an open house. I've done lots of open houses. I did one when it was the Smith House out there on the end of Plano and Morton. That was an iconic house. I had 2 agents, me and one other. We had 100 people through that house. You know how many offers we got out of that house? Nada. Out of that open house, nada. Our showing came from something else, that people wanted to see that house because it was iconic and they'd always want to see it. Oh, we want to see that house. We love that house. And then they all came through and nobody made an offer. And the problem is you get 100 people through. Who's the real buyers and who are looky-loos? And I guarantee you, the one that's talking to you, I've been cornered for 2 hours by somebody just going, my eyes are rolling around in my head. My eyes are rolling around in my head. And I am, you know, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm listening. And they're not the ones that are your buyers. They just want to talk. They start whipping out their phone and showing me, you know, their house that, oh, we just refied this, or we just bought this. And you're like, okay, move it along here. I want to talk to somebody else. But you know, that's the gamble, right? At an open house, you don't know. And you also don't know what's going to turn into something later. It may not be right this second. It might be later that they remember you. Try and give them your card. Try and give them something to take with them. You know, I know people do water bottles and put a label that has their name on it. They're not going to keep that. They're going to throw it away, right? I'd rather just give somebody a business card. If you're going to give them cookies or snacks, I'd put them in little plastic bags and attach your card to it. I'd rather, plus they're less messy. Because I don't want some little kid, you know, smearing chocolate chips on the white carpet, and then the seller's like, oh, great, now, you know, they've done that.
Something else that's very important that I don't think enough agents do is when the morning of your open house or the day of, call your freaking lender.
Yeah,
And you let your lender know that you're gonna be at the open house. So be on standby in case you have, because if somebody hot comes in. Like a hot buyer, I mean. I've done this before where we've gotten into like, you're matching and mirroring, right? So like if you get into a conversation with somebody that's talking about rates and talking about payments and they're payment sensitive and they're talking about what the pay, you know. Yeah, you have some of the documents here, but if they have some questions or anything like that, I call Wes on speaker for them, like it's just me and this person, and I'm like, hey Wes, hey, I'm here at the house. I got some people, we're just curious about them. And like it kind of creates this coming from contribution thing. And I'm not saying you have to do that, but just having them on standby. If you have somebody that's like engaged really well with you, they sound really motivated. as soon as they like, let them know, like, oh, yeah, no problem, if you've gotten to that point where they're okay with talking to your lender. That moment that they're there is the most excited that they're gonna be. So as they're walking out, say, I'll have my lender call you now, you know, here pretty in the next half hours, in the next 15 minutes. As soon as they walk out and leave, you're on the phone, Wes. Hot, this is the information on, this is what I got, I just text you over their stuff, call them in the next 15 minutes. They're motivated, like, be ready for that. Be ready for that, because you have to understand that, like, people oftentimes make decisions based on their emotions, so. If they really like that house and they're wanting to do something. There is not a better time for them to be in, you know, there's no higher emotional state that they're gonna be in than as they're leaving, right? So make sure that your lender knows that you're gonna be there, and they need to be on standby. And I've even actually had quick pre-qual sheets that. I've done that multiple times where I'm like, well, I literally get them to fill this out. Where they sign it, all they do is put their name, social security number, and phone number, sign, like a quick pre-qual sheet. I'll take a picture of that while I'm at the open house, shoot it over to Wes, and he's pulling credit and doing everything already. Because he doesn't need to get permission when they sign it. They've already signed, because it says in there, okay, just fill this out, I can shoot this over to him, he can get started on it, he'll call you, you know. Soon, I mean, like, there's so many different, like, little things that you can do, but having all these different things are all tools in your tool belt. Like, you get a feel for it, you'll know when to pull some of these tools out when you can use them. And but if you have somebody that's motivated, the worst thing you could do, it's literally a $5,000 to $10,000 mistake, loss for you. If you weren't prepared to handle a motivated buyer that came into your open house. That was willing to do something, you can literally squander that whole thing if you're not prepared and ready to take action.
And don't be too afraid to do, and I have agents that are afraid to do open houses on other people's listings because they don't know the listing that well. It's okay, just get the general information. It's almost an opportunity. If somebody asks you a question and you don't know the answer, get their number and get the answer, call them back. Oh, I'll find that out for you. I'm not sure. Let me find out for you. Then you've got their number. Then they know, oh, hey, they're helpful. They're answering my questions. They're getting back to me. But make sure you follow through. Don't go, because that's not going to work. And if they do meet with a lender, like Chris said, if that's not the house for them, make sure your lender is responding to you. Hey, I qualified them. They qualify for 3. That house was 4. They don't qualify for that house. Get back with them. Hey, and you can check in with them. How's it going with the lender? How's it going? How's the pre-qual going? And then they'll usually tell you, oh, we qualified for 3. Okay, well, let's see what's available in your price range. You switch them to something else. Because again, the goal isn't really to sell them that house. It's to sell them something else. You can sell them that one, great. But if not, that's okay too. So getting them to sign in when you're there is super important. Chatting with them as much as you can, making them feel comfortable, make them trust you, get the questions out of them if you can. That's great. After the follow-up, if you can get an address for them, send them a thank you note, a handwritten thank you note. Nobody does it anymore, especially if they're a neighbor. Especially if they're a neighbor, you can say, you know, thanks so much for visiting my open house, Sarah. Put your card in there. Again, it's not asking them for anything. It's just a touch. Like, oh, they thought enough about it, because nobody sends notes anymore, right? If you get a phone number, text them. If you don't have a mailing address, thanks so much for visiting the open house. Let me know if I can help you with anything. Super simple.
And if there's an opportunity, I've done this multiple times as well. If there's an opportunity to go to their house after your open house, do it. You can have plans, push them back.
Unless they're a creepy guy and you're a woman, be careful of that.
Check your CCTV, would be fine.
Yeah, you have to take your guns, yeah. But no, if you can go and give them a value on their home afterwards.
If you've clicked with them and they're talking and like they're legitimately looking at making a move and doing something. that's a potential multiple gains right there. Because not just on that house, but just like them looking to sell, you're gonna sell their place, you're gonna sell them a place, and you can potentially double in one of those. Or both, so, the opportunity is really great, everybody knows that listings are gold. So if you get a seller that's genuinely is interested in making a move, and they're open to you, try to get it right there, try to get it.
Yeah.
Do you want me to swing by after this? Like, offer it, because they're in the moment, they're talking with you about it. That is the highest emotional state they're gonna be at, the most likely time they're gonna say yes. And literally, if they're talking about, they say it's okay for you to come over. Okay, cool, this ends at, this open house ends at 3, so I can load everything up and then just kind of shoot over after that, does that work? I've done that, handful of times,
Usually they're good with that.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if they want that value.
If they've got free time to like be looking at an open house, chances are in the next hour, they're gonna be cool, and it gives them enough time to go home and like straighten out, or whatever they're gonna do. But that happens surprisingly more often than you may think.
Right.
Where a neighbor will be more to let you like come over, and check out their place, and that's just more time you get to spend with them, to build a relationship, to create trust, that's the whole name of the game, that you need them to trust you, that you have their best interest in mind, and you're capable. So the more time you have to do that, the better chances are.
Exactly. So you want to do thank you notes, thank you texts, thank you calls. That's a good thing to do, right? Add any names, numbers, they know your name, you've had a conversation, put them in your database. They're in your sphere of influence now, they know you. You've spoken to them, they know you, put them in your sphere. Answer any questions, get back to them with questions. The other thing you guys can do is do a post. If you miss my open house at 123 Main Street, call me for a private showing. Miss my open house, call me for a showing. That kind of thing. So it is work to do a proper open house correctly. It's much more than the 2 hours or the 3 hours, or for you crazy people, the 4 hours that sit out there for 4 hours, right? So we'll just go with 2. You got the 2 hours, whatever you're doing before, door knocking, taking the time to do that, circle calling, whatever it is. Then you're there for the 2 hours, and you better do the follow-up, because you've just lost, all that work is for nothing if you're not doing the follow-up. Because it's not always what's right in front of your face, it's the pipeline. Putting it in your pipeline. Okay, yes, Matt.
One thing I like to do actually is, while they're there, I like to create a search for them on the MLS.
That's
Yeah.
very
Really
good.
good idea.
And then I show them a few houses from it, and I'm like, hey, you want me to send it to you? And they're, of course, so then I get their number, and then what I can do from there is get their email address. And then get the MLS automatically send them the
Yep.
property, so then they're sending properties to me, and I'm like, doing anything that way I can have like huge database of people that are sort of sending me stuff and keeping me up to date even. And I'm not always the one reaching out.
That's
at that moment.
That's a very good idea. It's very smart.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to do open houses. I have new agents that are afraid. I don't know the house that well. It's okay. You don't need to know everything in detail when the AC was replaced. If it's a brand new AC, that might be a good thing to know. But just get them in there, make a connection. You don't have to be an expert on the house. Okay, anybody have any questions, any input?
Last deal I did.
Yep, Gunner's Last Deal. I mean, I think we get a lot of deals from open houses, a lot.
I got half of my thing with the housing.
And they're pretty, any grads or.
No.
And I'm crazy, I'm the one that's just for 4 or 5 hours.
Yeah.
I will do it 3 days in a row.
Well,
He just brings his guitar and.
very good.
Yeah, and it doesn't happen with that.
Do you play the guitar at the open house?
Sometimes.
You have an advantage. That's not fair. It's a gimmick.
Yeah, there was one guy who came to start playing the piano and then started playing guitar with him, and do a little video for social media.
Okay,
Just get the seller permission, if they're gonna be playing everything on.
yeah. Were there any comments? Any?
No questions, but do it. Back to school space.
Oh, yeah. Guys, so we are donating to Roach School, back to school supplies. So whether in Visalia or Porterville, bring them to the office. We're delivering on Friday, so we need them here either today or tomorrow. And so let's make it a good drive. Let's be
I get a
proud.
lot for $5.
You get a lot for $5. What did I spend, Jackie? 500.
You got 20 backpacks and $100 worth of a lot of school supplies.
And that actually came from downtown, but I want to support it. And Roach has a lot of kids that need the help. I mean, little ones feel good with a new backpack or something new from school, even when, you know, some of the parents can't afford it. So
Especially backpacks, they're ridiculous. They're like $50,
I know.
60
Well,
bucks.
they have some as little as $6, but I think I bought mostly the $15, $20 ones that were 2 characters.
Yeah. So if everybody does a little, it adds up to a lot. And I appreciate it. So. Okay. All righty.
Is that all?
I believe that's all.
We're done, Steve.
We're done.
All right, guys.
Go plant
No,
smoking houses.
Oh, one more other tip.
Uh-oh.
When doing an open house on a listing that is not our brokerage, it does need to be made clear that you are not with that brokerage. So like, Matt Bailey has his own generic signs. So if he's doing an open house on a listing that's not a downtown listing, he would need to have a downtown open house sign in front of the house. Your flyers should have your downtown logo, so it makes it point clear that downtown, you're with Downtown Realty. And the listing is with the XYZ brokerage. It needs to be clear that you are not with that same brokerage. Understand? Okay. Thank you, guys.